Assalamu alaikum warahmatullah. As you can see, it's too cold to be gardening outside. We've got some work to do inside, so come on, let's get cracking. Today's video is going to be about potting up seedlings that I've got growing up in the house already, and that's what I'm going to do now. I'm just preparing some of my potting mix, and my potting mix is mainly homemade compost. So this is all recycled compost, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some fresh compost into this, because now I'm trying to wake the plants up. All this time I've been wanting nutrient deficient soil, so now I want to try and wake the plants up a little bit more. I'm not going to go for all out full on fast food, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go for some slow release food, some low nutrition compost mixed with some fresh compost. Under this pile of snow somewhere is my compost pile. So that's a load of vermicompost. It's really rich stuff, is that? So I don't want too much, just a little bit of that will do. And in here, I'm going to have to move this snow back a little bit. See, I'm not letting this snow go to waste. Now you might have thought, oh, I've put all the snow into my compost pile. That's quite deliberate. I've just done a video on my Patreon that explains all of that, all about snow and using it for your garden. And this is all homemade compost. Lovely stuff. Now let's get back. Let's go and get this sifted. Oh, yeah. And I'm going to add 1 scoop of garden soil into this. This is ordinary garden soil, it's nothing special, just some clay. And it's quite heavy clay as well. So the good thing about this is it's got plenty of minerals in it. Clays are absolutely amazing at holding on to nutrition, holding on to minerals and trace elements that your plants are going to need. So you normally talk about acclimatization of plants, and we're talking about, you know, getting them weather ready. But no one very rarely talks about getting them root ready. So getting them into the right soil conditions. This is one of the things that I like to do, is introduce some of my garden soil into my potting mix at an early stage, so my plants can start experiencing the sort of growing conditions that they're going to feel outside. That's enough to keep us going for a couple of days. Good. Give that a good old mix up, just like cooking a stew. It's a nice little recipe in it. So the seedlings that I'm going to start with are my tomatoes. Oh, these are sun gold, wicked. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 plants of sun gold. So you know the way I plant quite heavy into one pot. So that's just giving me the opportunity not to have these in separate pots and take up all that space under the grow lights, etc. So now I'm just going to break them apart and separate the plants out. Or you can even smell the sun gold tomatoes. They have a quite distinct smell compared to other tomatoes. So yes, wicked. Bismillah. So look how deep I'm going with that plant. Almost half the plants are going into the plant pot. If you look on the stem of these tomatoes, every single one of those tomatoes is going to sprout new roots. So all of that can go into the pot. Lovely. Normally what I'd do is I'd bring in the soil a couple of days before, and I'd allow the soil to warm up to temperature before I transplanted them. So today with this, I'm not going to water these because the soil is a little, it's not, I wouldn't say the soil's wet, but because it's a little bit cold and I'm transplanting these while there's still snow outside, I don't want I don't want to give the plants any more shock than that I'm already giving them. So yeah, let's not overburden them. But in a few days, once this cold snap's gone, we'll properly water them in. In a pot like these plants will be here for at least another month. So they'll go to a good size. Yeah, they'll stay here until they're finally into their final pots to pot up. So we can get them to at least that tall in this pot. Perfect. That's why I like these pots quite a lot, because they are quite deep. We've done a few tomatoes, but I'm going to do some chilies as well. So with the chilies, it's going to be very similar, but instead of going into big pots like that, because they're a lot smaller plants, I'm going to go into smaller pots. And as usual, we'll have some chilies on sale very soon. I'll put if you want a list, email me on my email address and I'll drop you where they are. Okay, so here are some naga, absolutely beautiful naga. Bismillah. And these are all red naga. Oops. I'm just going to break off a section like that. Now, if you notice these plants, let me show you. So the roots of these plants, you can bury these a lot deeper. But if you notice these, you'll see that white bit at the bottom and that greener bit at the top. That greener bit, if you go higher up the stem and you plant it up to there, that's okay. If you go any higher, you're likely to cause it to rot, so don't do that. So bismillah. Let's get that naga in to its new home. Bismillah. All of that root straight down into that new hole and push it in. And lots of compost in, or potting mix in around the top. These bottom leaves, if they are getting in the way, you can take them off, because remember what happens. So if you end up with soil splash on your plant, that's one source of disease. So if you remove those bottom leaves, it's just a way of ensuring that there's no soil splash and there's no spread of diseases. So with the smaller plants out of that little tray, they're all going into these individual seed trays. Now this is a bit of this is something that I recycled. It's a plastic cell for flowers. So for those of you watching me for the first time, you might think that I'm being a little bit rough with these things. Yes, I am, because you don't have to be perfect. Being rough, look, I still have some great results. Don't worry about it. Just have a go. Just really, just get your hands dirty, get your hands in the soil, just get involved. Don't worry about, just really don't worry about it. Just have a go. Oh, trust me. The plants can take it. It's just sometimes we like to fuss a little bit too much. So I've got another chilli here that I've overwintered. This is an overwintered plant, and it's time to wake some of these up. I started with a few, and I just slowly working my way through the rest of the pile, and we'll be waking them all up. So really simple. Just transfer it from the pot that it's in into a bigger pot. Give it some fresh compost top and bottom, and oops, all the way around the sides. Loads of fresh new compost, and you'll see that take off. beautifully. So before I take these into their final spot, let's just give them a quick clean. I'll show you where I'm going to keep these, and they're just going to be sat in the attic, but we'll give the plants a quick clean. And with these chilies, I am going to give them a water, but the water I'm going to give them is, I'm going to use some slightly warm water, so the sort of lukewarm water, not cold, just so it warms that soil up, because they've had a bit of a shock. They're going to need watering in, just a way of warming that soil up as well. That's okay. Let's get these upstairs. So here we go. Let's get these into their position. All these chilies, they're going to stay here for the rest of the winter and into spring. I know we're getting into spring, but when you look outside, it's still quite cold. I'm going to bring the tomatoes up here, and the way I'm going to position them, small plants at the front, taller plants at the back. So these chilies are going to stay up here for the rest of the winter. I know it's supposed to be spring, but it's still snowing outside. So we'll keep them up here for the next sort of 6 weeks or so. And towards the end of April, early mid-May, we'll start moving them into the greenhouse, and we'll start acclimatizing them and getting them into the final pots. But yeah, so that's a quick guide on how to pot up your tomatoes and your chilies. Don't forget to hit that like and subscribe for regular updates. If you want to support our channel, you can become a Patreon. And I'll see you on the next one. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.